I'm going to show you how to do a watercolour technique using Koi colouring brush pens and a water brush and a blender pen in the Koi colouring brush pen set. I'm using a Woodware watercolour card. Comes on A4 sheets, has a really good surface for watercolouring on. It's a nice thickness and it's nice and smooth, but still has a little bit of a texture, which I think is nice and important for when you're doing a watercolour. I've already stamped my image using an archival dye ink. This one is Wicked Black, and that's dried for a minute or two. And now I'm going to pick up some colours for the Koi colouring brush pens. This one is Burgundy, and I'm going to apply the colour directly onto the stamped image, and I'm only putting a small amount on because I'm going to use the water brush, and it's a good idea to just check that, make sure it's slightly damp. I tend to do it on my hand because then I can feel the water coming out of the brush. The water's in the barrel, and then you can pick up the colour that you just applied directly to the image using the damp brush and spread that to the ends of the flower petals, like so, that you get that lovely tone coming through. See how it moves really easily on this watercolour card. You wouldn't be able to do this on a smooth stamping card. It has a very particular surface for watercolouring. To clean this, all you need to do is perhaps wipe it onto a kitchen towel just to clean the brush before you're going to use another colour. So I'll apply a different colour to another flower, and I'll show you that process just one more time. It doesn't look terribly neat when I put it on, but as you can see, you can blend that colour out and you don't see any, what I call a tide mark, where the colour finishes. It just all blends in from dark to very pale towards the sides of the petals. There we go. Now a little bit of pink left on the tip, so just wipe that with a bit of kitchen towel and put the top on. If you need to fill this up again, you need to unscrew it the opposite way around that you would normally screw a container. Take off the reservoir, fill that up with some cold water, put the top back on again and screw it up. It's always a good idea just to wipe it just in case you get a little bit of water coming out. Make sure it's firmly on. If you want to put some detail on here, ideally that needs to be a little bit drier, but you can apply the colour onto a craft sheet. Doesn't look like I've got much colour on there, but there is a lot of colour once you start picking it up with the blender colouring pen. You can see it on the tip there, and then you can apply colour directly onto the stamped image and add more detail. The ink won't dry on the craft sheet and acts as a really handy palette. And you can add a little extra detail. This way you get a small amount of the pigment from the pen onto your artwork rather than use a solid colour which is really quite dark. So if I put that onto a spare piece of card, you can see it's quite dark, yet if I pick it up with a blender pen you get a much lighter image and it fades really nicely, so you can vary the depth of colour that you use. And again, you can just wipe that off on a kitchen towel ready for the next cololl. I'll apply some with a bit of green onto a leaf just to show you how that comes out. Again, I just put a small amount at the base and using the water brush drag that colour over the leaf to give a softer look. And once that's dry, you can again go over it by applying the green to the craft sheet, picking it up with the blender pen and putting some detail work in the leaves as well.